All right. Well, I think it's probably best if we just start off by introducing ourselves, isn't it? So we're delighted, I think, to welcome both Dr. Nathinee and Dr. Sasilak here today, and Dr. Bradbury as well. Myself and Alice as head of early years and deputy head of early years. But for me, I think the reason I wanted everyone to be in the room today was to talk about what everyone's doing, why we're here, and also the amazing work that you have been doing within Thailand, but also with that focus on early education as well. So firstly, I'd just like to start with, I think, the work that you've been doing on parent relationships and loose parts play. Would you like to tell us a little bit about, the purpose?
So first we start with the research related to loose parts play, and follow up from that kind of research, we got a room equipped with loose part, indoor and outdoor. And from that, we just invite parents to send their kids to play in this loose part. As well as we work as a training, we did a curriculum for parents and teachers to learn how to be a good co-player with their children. That's the starting point.
Yeah, and with that starting point, we keep doing, we call it like an academic services that we provide for the community, and we try to enhance all the parents and educators to see how to work with children, and to enhance them how to play and participate with children and enhance their relationship as well. I would say with that objectives. So we keep working on that, and that's how we met, I assume, yes, because we see the same significant point that we should work with parents. And we think that to raise a child, it takes like the whole world and the village, right? Of course, it's not just only the village now, it's the whole world. That's how we collaboration together, yes.
Yeah, and I think that really touches on a lot of what you do in terms of your work on relationships as well, and parent work, and actually setting children off for that really great foundation, which is when we start taking children at 2, actually that 0 to 2 phase is so important, and all that work that you're doing with parents and grandparents. And Dr. Bradbury, I know that you spent a lot of time thinking about babies and toddlers and getting them ready for preschool environments and relationships and that sense of belonging and nurture, which has been your watchword, really. I'd just love to hear from you in terms of what you've noticed culturally here in Thailand about belonging and nurture, because I think you both touched on it there. I think it's definitely an area that we know is one that we work very closely with our parents about. I'd love to know what your impression has been.
Yeah, so it's been really positive to see, I think, that nurture and connection of families. What's really lovely here that I've noticed with our families here is there's an element of joy and happiness, and it's quite infectious, if you know what I mean. You feel it from them. And I know that culturally that kind of kindness and the smiles and it's something that's very much given, it's very much radiating, but actually it's really lovely. I think you hit the nail on the head really when we were talking about nurture and belonging. I think it's the starting point of that child's journey for learning. Really it opens those doorways, and you can see that your children come here quite confident, and I think that's where that starting point really happens with the children and the families and the parents.
Alice, would you mind just talking us through a little bit, because I know that you've done so much work on helping our parents feel that sense, and it's undefinable isn't the right word, but you do feel it. I think you do feel it when you walk into a school and you can see how it feels, but that takes work, and there's lots of steps that go into that, and I know that you think very carefully about it.
Our parent partnership starts from before the children even start at our school, and making sure that families feel included before they begin, joining us with playgroups or seeing social stories and supporting their children through that transition into the school. We meet with parents regularly again before the children step foot, so that we get to know the children really well, and we centre the parents as the person who can help us do that. That then just evolves with our soft starts and our pickups at the classroom door, so that those relationships between the school and the teachers and between the parents can really flourish. But we also have our parent workshops, which is where you came in as well. And we offer lots of different parent workshops for lots of different reasons throughout the school year. And then we had your students come and support in the courtyard area for parents to work with them as well, which was a lovely addition.
What I found really interesting about the parent feedback there was when you asked them, why are you here? Why have you come to spend some time with us today? Because it was a very popular parent workshop. I had 60, 65 parents, and they said, we want to learn how to be better co-players with our children. Do you feel that is a wider trend nationally, internationally? I'd love your thoughts on that.
Actually, for Thai parents, they didn't join children the play. They maybe provide space and like materials or toys, and then they do other things, and the children play alone. We would like them to shift their mind to be part of the children and to play with them. So we try to communicate to the parents that being with the children more benefit for both themselves and the child. So that's the time that they can understand themselves as well as understand their child.
Yeah. For me, I think, other parents, they want to be the better one, right? But it's really hard because we don't have the same resources that can help us to be the better one, right? And for the parents, they try to seek out for the, other resources like knowledge or skills or something like that. But when we really give them the resources that they needed or the thing that they can help themselves, like, to enhance their awareness or something like that, it really, really helps parents to be the better parent, like in parenting. And that affects children as well. And with that, I think when the school provides something like that, it's really help parents to, try to be better and also feeling good about themselves. I think it's really important that we have to provide them the way that they can also feel about themselves, like the way that they feel good about themselves, about their parenting, even though it might need a little bit of change, but still it's really important. And that's what parents, they try to seek for, because everyone needs to feel good about themselves to raising another child that need to feel good about themselves as well, right? So I think that is really important, and it's a key of working with parents. That's how parents play with their child or their children, because when you feel good about yourself, so you joy. It's a joy that you're talking about. You joy the moment that you play with them and the moment that you see the happiness along the way of parenting.
Yeah, and what about you, Dr. Bradbury?
I think for me, it's kind of twofold. I think we need to kind of see that parenting has changed quite recently. Parents are working more, and they're expected to go out and earn. Parents are, both parents are doing that more than ever. But I think actually what's really important is, yes, resources are really key to creating an environment, but actually the best play person is the parent with the child, and actually being together, spending some quality time and making sure that you secure that time with your child is really, really important, because actually that's probably the most joyful of any moment that child can have. But yes, the resources are for me an added bonus. But I think actually being with your child, and you haven't got to spend prolonged periods of time, but sometimes just that short time can really make a huge difference to our children. And I think that's the key. It's very much about being with children, and having that time with children is so, so important.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions as a new parent, and my daughter's in year 1 and Alice's son is not yet at school, but he will be soon. But as a new parent, you can often be targeted by Reels, Instagram, TikTok, lots of well-intentioned but maybe misguided advice. But I think what you said there about it's that quality time. I'm a working dad. I see my daughter for a few minutes in the morning, usually 15 minutes in the morning, and I'll have that time with her at night time where we'll have our bedtime routine, and I'll read her a story and I'll put her to bed. And if that's all I get Monday to Friday because I'm working, that time is really precious, and I want it to feel meaningful and purposeful. and special because that's where we have that moment of connection, me and my daughter. It doesn't mean I love her any less. It doesn't mean she loves me any less. And she's still very happy to see me, but it's about making the most of the time that we have. And I think parentally, that's been really interesting. I think in Bangkok, I've been here for 15 years now. I've really noticed that the parent body understand much more what they want out of their parenting experience as well as their child's experience. And I think that's probably the most important thing now. It's not just the child's experience as well. It's about the parents too. Alice, anything to add to that?
I think that what you were saying earlier, parents want to be a better parent, or parents are trying to be a better parent, but with the different information come from different places, sometimes it's hard to know what that looks like. Is that an extra class after school? Is that another thing to do on the weekend? Or is it that quality time? And I think our parent workshops at King's, and then having you come and do the parent workshops, really cemented that message. It's spending quality time, that uninterrupted time with your child, as short as it may be if you're working, but it's uninterrupted and it's quality. That's what really makes the difference.
I'd love to ask you both, given your depth of knowledge of early years education in Thailand and also with your global knowledge as well, what do you see the future looking like for early education in Thailand?
We try a lot to implement play-based in our classroom. Maybe some teachers are afraid of the content that they didn't get when they be at the classroom. As well as the Thai society, we often demand on the good kids, that means good grade or achievement of the children. And we try a lot for early childhood teacher to implement play and integrate other contents area while the child's playing. That should be like a lot of energy to promote this concept. We still have to do it now and in the future. And another thing that we have to like support the teacher as well, because Thai teacher have to take care with the children like more than 25 per class. And it's like overwhelmed and hardworking for them. And they feel a lot of stress. And if they feel a lot of stress, they cannot let the classroom more happy and joyful. And they didn't allow children to play or what they should do because they have a lot of stress and a lot of children, and they have to like control the children behavior. This is like the challenge of our educator as the teacher for the teacher, that we try to support them how to implement play in the classroom and let the children be the child in the classroom. Yeah.
In my opinion, I would say that, well, when we talk about future, it needs, I would say, segments, a lot of parts that help us to move on, right? And one part is policy, of course. We can see that in Thailand, we can see a lot of people try to change or develop the policy that, help children to play more and integrate play-based learning in our school. And I can see a lot of movement in terms of policies that they try to let the children be children and, spend more time in play. I think that one thing that enhanced their movement, it's because we can see a lot of statistics that prove that we have a lot of children with the, like straight, toxic traits or
Anxiety
something like that.
Sort
Yes,
of thing, yeah.
Something like that. So we can see the growth of children with problem with that. So I think that's why adults who, working in terms of policy try to make the movement on that. And another part is our, early years section that we try to make the movement as well. We try to provide the resources and knowledge and practice as well for other teachers and for other educators and also for the parents to see how to work with children, how to participate and how to, give them skills that they really need for early years. So we try to do that as well. And I can see the feedback from schools, teachers, educator, and even like in private section that they try to help to provide this knowledge and try to distribute this knowledge and skills in the society. I would say that the movement that is maybe not a big movement like jump up, but it's like inch by inch. But also we can see that we have the movement in that way. And I think it's going to be good, but it takes time. I would say that it takes time, of course. And another part is the whole society, which is not, maybe they're not parents, they are not, but there might be some entrepreneurs or something like that they're trying to help. We can see a lot of places that try to make like child and parents and family friendly, that, you know, we can see a lot of libraries in private section that try to do something for the society and for the early years. And I think that is another movement that really helped our society as well. And I think I can see that in another country, we can see like the collaboration between each section more and more. So I think it becomes awareness for the whole world that we really need to do something with the children, and that should start with the relationship with parents and children, and also in the school with the teachers. Yeah.
I'm going to hand over to you, Aaron, because I know you've got a lot to say about this.
So I think play is a hot topic at the moment. I think it's becoming quite controversial in tone, because actually I think what we're seeing in a lot of schools across the world, not just here in Thailand, but also in the UK, teachers are telling us that just what you were saying, that actually they're feeling the accountability of getting children ready to move on to the next phase. And I think some of the work that we've talked about and what I'm doing around the child in the now, and obviously I'm hoping we'll talk about the book in a moment as well, but actually what we're seeing is that those high expectations that we ultimately want for our children can be done through a play-based lens. What's really nice is that we're starting to see that here. You know, I think what's really nice at King's is that you've really held on to a play-based model, and the teachers get that, but they're still not afraid to, you know, challenge children in a playful way, to extend their knowledge. And I think that's the key. I think accountability is fine as long as we allow teachers to actually do what's needed in their classroom. So I think play is, and I think it's sometimes misrepresented that actually it's just play. And actually I say, yes, it should just be play. You know, it's the language of our children, it should be. And I think what's really key is teaching in early years, in early education, looks different. So because it looks different, they see that we're not teaching, if that makes sense. But actually we are, and I think we need to really value where our children start through that play-based lens. Look, when we really, really think about, you know, trauma, for example, with our children, what do we reach out to? We reach out to play therapy. You know, it's the therapy of our children. It's something that's so powerful that we really, really need to value play, because it's not just about learning, it's making sense of the world that we live in. And it's really, truly being connected with the language of our children. And I think that's the most powerful message we can give for our children. And it's really lovely to see, you know, I'm so lucky to see it in action. But when you walk through the classrooms, you feel it. You know, I can only talk about King's. I mean, I do work at other international schools as well. But what's really nice here is you can feel that joy. You can see children being challenged, you know, in a positive way, because I think challenge is okay. But some children want to be challenged. They want to be pushed, but it's being done through a playful pedagogy. And that's really, really lovely to see. I mean, I could keep talking forever on play, but I'll let you move on.
I think, you know, you visiting us in November and being so complimentary, I think, about the play-based ethos made both Alice and I reflect a lot on what it was that we've been trying to achieve at King's since founding year in 2020 when we both started. And I think for me, it has always been the understanding that play is the work of childhood, but also as an early years specialist, I did my teacher training in early years. So I've only ever worked with this age group, and it is the most special one. Like the way that they change and they grow from 2 to 5 is absolutely astonishing. From those children who are still very much holding their parents' hand and shyly walking in, or being a little bit resistant to separate at the door, and then coming in and taking those first few steps. And then by the end of reception, you know, full of chat, full of questions, full of wonder, and really, really excited about the next phase in their lives. But it always has been about here, start with the play first and then layer everything else in. And Alys, I know that you have spent a long time thinking about what that looks like and how we structure it in the day. If you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about what your bigger thoughts around that.
So play hasn't been separated from having those high expectations for the children, and they've been interwoven together, thinking really carefully about what does that play then look like and how can we make sure that it's consistently throughout this building, like just down to the structure of the day. The children are coming in and they're playing straight away. We make sure that they are immersed in their environment and that there are adults there joining them in that play from the moment that they step into the classroom. And then that play is for a long period of time so that they can get fully immersed in their learning and stay in a focused state of play, which is really wonderful to see. And when you walk around in the mornings, yes, even whilst they're settling, that you're beginning to see that from the very beginning of the day.
I mean, I'd like to also say that I arrived here probably later on in the day and the children had gone home. So the place was being tidied up. But one thing that stood out for me was the children's creations, their resources that they've been playing with. And the children have made a stop sign to say, don't tidy it away, you know? And that is music to my ears. Like, it's so lovely because they will come back the next day and they'll continue, you know? So it's not about tidying it away, you know? And that's exactly what you see in the classrooms, that actually it's extended, you know, and I just love the fact that the children had made their own stop signs and they're in control of that play, you know. It was just something, I think I said to you, didn't I, this is amazing, you know, and it wasn't just in one classroom. I saw it throughout, you know, even in nursery and reception. It was just so lovely to see that their creations were just still there. It hadn't been broken up. And I bet you tomorrow they came back to it and it would have carried on and probably ended up bigger. And, you know, so it was lovely to see. It was really, really lovely.
There are key things like that run through pre-nursery, nursery and reception. And so the children know about that tool. They can use that tool very confidently. They know that that environment is their environment to learn and play in, and they own it.
So when you talk about children and their stop sign, remind me of the journal from my student, our student that come and work here. One of the journals said that the parent here at your courtyard mentioned that, I think she's a mom. The mom said, I don't know how to play with the loose parts, of course, right? A lot of people say that. And then her child said, I know, but I know how to play. And then she started playing. So I think that is a good thing, right? And when the mom said, I don't know how to play with this. And then her daughter just mentioned, I know. And then she started playing that. So I think it's something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when the children realize that, I know, and I know how to play, and that is something that you don't know, Mom. Yeah. I think that is great.
It's like really special, isn't it? So I know something you don't know. Now, we touched on it briefly, and I would like to spend a little bit of time talking about it, but obviously we are here to talk about the book as well. Aaron, you spent some time with us in November and were very kind and reached out to us about, well, before you left even, and said, would you like to do this? And I'd just love for you to tell us a little bit about what it is that you want, what you're here to write about, and why it was important to you.
Yeah, well, first of all, everyone needs to go and buy the book, obviously, when it comes out. But there was something that connected with me the very first day, and I've written about it in the first chapter in the introduction, and it was my journey to the school. So I always knew things were not going to be what I perceived or the norm. I ended up travelling here in a tuk-tuk, you know, first thing in the morning, not your usual Grab or, you know, your Uber or whatever it is that you use. But as soon as I walked through the door, there was just something that just felt different in that transition of the start of the day. It was parents and children, and the confidence of seeing those children, you know, there were no tears. I mean, it was still the beginning of the year. You know, November isn't really that long for especially pre-nursery. Yeah. But you saw children coming into school excited, and it was something that I'd felt but hadn't felt the kind of velocity of it because there was just so many children.
300 children coming in with that.
So, and then I spent some quality time in the classrooms. I think I spent a lot of time in pre-nursery and then nursery and then reception. So I kind of had a really good feel of what it was like to kind of be immersed here. And the work that I was here to do was around the love and nurture rating scale and the child in the now that obviously I've created with a colleague called Tamsin Grimmer. But actually what's really, really nice was there was just something else that really kind of shone through. And that was and we don't use this word enough, and it was the joy. And actually it was so joyful being here myself. I wanted to capture that somehow. So obviously I went home and started sleeping on it. And that's kind of something just kind of come to my ideas about, well, why don't we try and bottle that, which is where the title of Bottling Joy came from. But actually I wanted the colleagues, your teaching staff, the children, and your community, your parents, to showcase what that joy looks like. Because I think it would be really nice to share that with the world and how you've bottled joy and how others could bottle that joy as well.
Yeah. And I think, having you be part of that really showcases, I think, in a way, how much the community have bought into that joy. I think they can see the impact it has on their children. They want to be strong partners. And when they're not sure, it was just so helpful. We can do so many, we do a lot, but to have you there as experts with your particular focus on loose parts play was so powerful for the parents. What, from your view, in terms of the parent understanding, how did they respond to your co-playing and suggestions?
From our observation, especially from our students, we can see very good feedback from parents. And I think it's like a journey. At the starting point, they feel like, what am I doing here? Why we have to be here? And what are these materials around here? And they don't know what to do. Just like the mom said, I don't know how to play. So I think it's like a journey of the parents as well, not just only the children or for our journey, but it's also the journey of the parents that they can see the changes in themselves.
Yeah.
That from being outsider and always be there, right? Outsider and seeing their child play. And I'm just observing, or sometimes I'm not just observing, I'm just dropping you and you play. Yeah. But from there, the parents starting to learn from their own child with the help from the teachers and from the design that we make and from the help that we put between their play, during the play. And then the parents starting to change from being an outsider to be co-plays. Actually, there is a step between outsider and co-play. It's like observer, like, should I be there?
Should I?
Should I? And I think there are a lot of interesting questions like how far we need to be between us and our child. Like how far, like, is that perfect? Is that okay? And there are a lot of questions. And I think having questions is really important because before that, they never have a question before. Yeah. And then they're starting to question something. And that is very important for the parents, right? Yeah. When you're starting to question something, it means you're thinking about that and you really focus on that. And then when they become co-plays, some of the parents said that, I never know that we can play with this before. And even some of the parents said, I used to play with this, and then I forget. And then when I forgot about that, I keep buying toys instead. So I think it's like a journey when you being an outsider, and then you be an observer, and then you're starting, okay, I decided to play. And then you jumped in, and it changed you. Yeah. Not just only your child, but also yourself. So I think it's very beautiful journey for an adult. When we talk about adult learning, I think that is very beautiful, and it will keep, going and going. It's not just like, okay, that is the end, but it's keep going and going because you put the seed of, questioning about things that you're doing.
Yeah,
yes.
And I think it's really nice that you said that because I think we see it reflected in our community all the time. from the way that the parents interact with us, but also want to know more. You know, they'll very happily come and tell me at the gate, "Oh, we love this workshop," or "That was really helpful," or "I tried this strategy that one of the teachers shared with us and that really worked effectively." I hope what you've been picking up on and what you've been describing as Joy, for me, is the soul of our community. I think it's a 6-year, we've only been open 6 years since we opened in 2020. So to have grown this community over time, and parents and children and staff joining us with that same ethos and that same love of play, but also understanding the point of high expectation. And to have you come in, I think you said, I can't remember what it was, something along the lines of being healed by the children. I can't remember. You know, they nurtured you.
Yeah. I think that's the thing is, we get so kind of focused on, like, you know, GLD and baseline and all those things that ultimately sometimes has to be done because that's how we do it. But actually the best nurture is being with the children. And I think that message was shone through to your colleagues as well, to your teachers, that one thing that's really, really nice here is the play is also with a lot of natural resources. And I think there's a whole sustainability kind of concept there as well. Even with loose parts, I can see that. And I think that's why loose parts is reflected, you know, and I said that when I did the observations, we saw loose parts being used really, really well. And I think the children value their play a lot more when it isn't just about toys, you know. And don't get me wrong, we all love toys, you know. I'm a fan of Lego. I mean, I love Lego. You know, you put me in front of Lego. But I think Lego, for boys as well, you never grow out of Lego. Yeah, I mean, stick me and Raj on the floor with Lego and we'll start building. But I think, Lego's multi-purpose, but I think with loose parts, it just becomes so much more open-ended, and it just creates that kind of sustainability of play and that nature, which is great. And I think that's something that we've really seen here at King's as well. There hasn't been an overuse of toys. Yeah. Sometimes the most simplest of resources can actually be the best. You know, a cardboard box, for example, you know, it can be so great.
Thank you. No, that makes sense. I think what we've touched on there is, I think the parent involvement, the community and play. I think and we've touched on it a little bit, was about high expectations. I think one of the things that you noticed before, and Alys, I know that you can expand on, is how the children are led through their play with that high expectation in mind. You know, what do we mean by that? Do we mean that it's really academic? Do we mean that it's challenging? What does that look like?
So our team focus a lot on their environment and what resources they will put out to make sure that it is going to be challenging for the children, but familiar enough that they're feeling really confident, and that will be reflected from the assessments that they've done with the children to work out where the children are now. So what is it that they are going to be doing next, and really tailoring their environment and the resources. And then when I say resources, I don't just mean the items. I mean, what are the adults going to be doing in that space and saying in those spaces, and what vocabulary are we expecting to hear to continue to build on where those children are in that moment. When you tailor it to your group of children, it's going to be making sure that they are making very good progress.
So Aaron, I know that we touched a little bit on, you know, the reasoning behind why you were so inspired, which is always lovely to hear. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about, you know, what you hope the impact of the book will be, and why those messages are important.
I think I want to kind of just highlight what Alys has just said around high expectations. What was really, really key here was it wasn't just about high expectations, it was age and stage appropriate high expectations. And I think that's really, really important. And I think that's kind of something that we forget about. We're always thinking about where children need to be. And I think a lot of pressure, a lot of that accountability that kind of comes down into reception is because our key stage 1 colleagues are feeling that pressure as well. So sometimes we feel that pressure because ultimately there's a next transition for those children to go on to. But I think what's really, really important is that children aren't living in that future, they're living in the now. And that now looks like age and stage appropriate expectations. So what's really, really key for me, and this is what will lead us on to the book, is that those key expectations are age and stage, child developmental appropriate, which we can still see even here at King's that those children are still making good progress, a good level of development. So I think, you know, the myth that you've got to kind of do it quicker, cram, you know, actually isn't right. And I think that's where the inspiration from the book has come from, really. So the book still kind of highlights play. It still kind of brings in that element of joy. But I think what it also does is it gives practitioners who will read the book the confidence to really kind of think about, actually, I am in control of my classroom. Yes, I am accountable, but you're also accountable to the children. And I think that's the biggest accountability that we should be feeling, which is, what am I giving our children the best? I mean, are we giving them the best playful pedagogy that we can? So the book really kind of encapsulates that and gives you, you know, if I was a practitioner, I could pick it up and go, oh yes, I hadn't even thought about that. Or yes, sometimes just that affirmation that I'm doing the best that I possibly can is ultimately what the book is about.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where Alice and I were most surprised by, I think, all of your interest in what we were doing here. We found it very affirming, you know, having spent 5 years essentially working in office together, trying to decide what is the best childhood we can possibly design for the children in our care, and to have you all come to see it and go, actually, yeah, we can see what you're trying to do here and it makes sense and it fits together. We're very grateful for that. We've probably got not that much time left, so I did want to just kind of get some sort of summative feelings from you, really, on, we talked about the future of Thailand and early education, but for you personally, what would you hope in 5 to 10 years' time would be different for the children of Thailand?
I hope that the teacher will make a relationship with children in their classroom more, and open the space for play more. Not the teacher directed the whole days, but child initiate and value play, and try to communicate this concept to the parent and bring them to be a partner. Not only the school that the child can play, but everywhere the child can play.
So for me, I think I would continue my, different part that need to support the children. So I would say that I want the child to be able to play and learn through play and develop through play, because that their tool for, for being a child and to develop themselves. So I wish they have a chance to play and learn and develop and join during their childhood. So I think that need a lot of support from other, people in society. So I wish everyone to be joy in raising our child as well. So not just only the children, but also the people around them, everyone to be joy in raising the child in our society, because it's really important and it affects each other. Yeah.
And Aaron, I know that you've done so much work with community. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I'd like us to slow down. I think as I think the world is changing rapidly, day by day. I think we're rushing into a future, and I think for us, we just need to slow our children down. I think we need our children to really enjoy childhood for as long as they possibly can, because it is the most magical time of being a human being. You only have to reflect back of being a child and the magic and that playfulness that you lose when you're an adult. You lose elements of that. Maybe not Raj, but you do lose elements of that. I know the parrot has come up quite a bit in the book, but I would like us just to slow down. Maybe not too slow, but just slow down. Notice children a little bit more and really value that stage of childhood. I think that's something that we really, really need to do. More specifically now in a changing world, that let's be honest, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't even know where we'll be or what we'll be in 10 years' time. So I think it is about valuing the now and really focusing on what do our children need now. And for me, that is that connection, it's relationships, and just slowing down and really valuing who they are.
I would like everyone to be finding that joy, and teachers and students, the children together, in the classrooms on a daily basis, however that may look or however that may feel. Not fleeting joy, but that more sustained joy.
Yeah, I think for me, watching this community sort of grow piece by piece, year by year, we went from 150 to 300 in a very short amount of time. And so growing that community with the same ethos and the same value, where everybody does appreciate the value of childhood and for the children having a childhood that is nurturing, where they belong. And I think, like you said, Aaron, people can see that the future is very uncertain. So we need to be sure of the now, right? We need to be sure of what our children are experiencing right now. Thank you very much for your time. Khayankij, I really appreciate it.